Hi there, it's Ann at craftfantastic.com, and today we are going to be making a Valentine Fantastic Art Card Kit. So let's get started. So here are some of the cool cards we're going to be making, and this one's super cute. It has the little heart locket and then the little Cupid Harlequin with a bouquet of flowers, the vintage image. This I love, this little medallion with the little hearts. And then we've got another Harlequin, Cupid, to my love. And then here's Be Mine with the Craft Fantastic embellishment. And last but not least, a vintage To My Valentine, or To My Love. And you've got your signature gems on all of these cards. So we are going to make 5 cards. So these are the tools that you need. You need a pair of scissors, or supplies, tools, supplies, some kind of a paper adhesive. You can use a glue stick. I like this little tape runner. It's by Scrapbook Adhesives. Q-tips, bone folder, and you might need a pencil. I don't use a pencil, but you might need one. So these are the tools and materials that you need. All right, so let's take a look at our kit. Go ahead and take your kit apart, and you've got all of these materials in here. You've got the images of each card. You've got all the images, the super sticky dots, the puffy dots, the ribbon, your little pack of glass and trays, and your cards and envelopes. Okay, so let's start with the images, and it doesn't matter what order you're working in. And you should have 7 image sheets, and then this little card that shows you 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to use that when we're putting our cards together. So there's 5 cards, and each card is numbered. So let's get started. So the first thing I'd like you to do is you're going to start cutting out your pieces, and we're just cutting them apart right now and putting them into little piles. And you want to keep the numbers associated with the sheet. So right here, I'm just cutting these out. We're going to use these later. These are for the signature gems. So I'm going to put these aside. And this says 3 here. And I'm just going to cut this apart. And it's always good when you're cutting to keep things, to do a rough cut first. So that's what cutting this apart does also. It gets it ready for the fussy cut. This just I'm going to leave alone. And there we go. Okay, so let's start making a pile. So this is a 2. This is a 4. And again, it doesn't matter what order. This is a 4 right here. This is a 1. This one is 5. So we have now 5 piles. And let's go ahead and set all the piles aside. Okay, we're going to do card number 1 now. And that's this one with the glass embellishment and the cute little Harlequins and with the little dog and the little ball. So let's start making card number 1. All right, so what we're going to do is, this is for the little piece of glass embellishment, and I'm going to set that off to the side. And I'm going to cut these pieces out. Just like that. There's that piece. And that's number 2. And then we've got, okay. So now we have our pieces cut out. And the pieces dictate to us what, how we're gonna cut out our cardstock. So the first thing I wanna do, I'm gonna grab 2 pieces of cardstock, one black, one red. And this is gonna go on the red just like this. And I would do it off to the side a little bit because you might be able to use this later. And then you've got your 2 little Harlequins here. I'll do that this way and this way because, again, I might be able to use this piece. And I'm using this great tape runner. We sell this on our website. It's my favorite. I like the smaller ones. They hold in your hand. And this is from scrapbook adhesives, and I really love this particular type of tape and just the way it comes out of the applicator, and it's just very easy to work with. So I'm going to glue that one down there. And make sure you give yourself enough around the edges to trim off. And I'm just going to take this like this. And I've got a little too close to the edge, so I'm just folding that back. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and glue the black. And I love, 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 love black and red together. And I think it's very Valentine-y, and I just like it. It's sophisticated and just fabulous looking. And it really, the black really makes the red pop. I guess that's what I like about it. Okay, so we've got that. All right, so you want about 1/8 of an inch all the way around the edge. And the key is getting the paper adhesive as close to the edge as possible without going over it. And I'm cutting it just a little hair less than 1/8 of an inch. You could cut more, you could cut less, you could use paper shapers and cut, or pinking shears and cut a zigzag. I mean, you can do a lot of things with this cardstock. But this is just a nice, clean, simple line. And I want it to look like it's homemade, so this is not perfect. This is something that, it's not die cut, you don't need any special tools. Okay, so we've got this. And now I'm gonna cut out my little, and you know what, I'm gonna cut them apart first and then do the close in cutting. You always get a better result that way. So we're just gonna trim all the way around the edge as close as you can get it and still have a nice border on it. And again, it just depends. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, I'm not making these perfect. It's about having fun, you know, sitting down and just enjoying yourself. And there we go. So you've got all your little pieces trimmed out. And now we're going to make our little glass piece. And I'm gonna use, I always work on a hard surface. And I am going to use here's my glass piece. We're gonna be using the little silver tray, right? And I get to choose an image. And I think that I am going to, I don't know which one I want to do this time. I did Be Mine the last time. I kind of like this one, but I also, you know what? No, I think I'm going to go with this one here. So I'm going to cut that off. You want to leave enough white salvage around the edge, and you'll see why in just a second. So this is our small glass round, and we're going to be using the glaze and glue. So what you want to do is just squirt a blob into the center. And you want enough on here that it's going to ooze out the sides, but not so it's too much. And this is where we come in with the Q-tips. And I'm just going to push down right here. And I'm letting everything ooze out the sides. And I'm making sure it's centered on there. Don't move it around too much. So I think that's perfect right there. And I'm just going to clean up around the edge. All the way around. And then what you're going to do is you're going to trim. And you want to sort of undercut a little bit. You can cut this wet or dry, but I would let it dry. You get a better result. Just like that. And look at how cute, and it just makes everything pop. It's super cute. And now we're gonna be gluing this into our little tray here. And I'm gonna use my super sticky dots. And these are great, these really hold. And I'm gonna take this right here, and I'm just smoothing this into the tray, and I'm gonna peel the little orange layer off. And you wanna make sure that you get this, now this is going to be going vertical, not horizontal. It's not going like this, it's gonna go like this. So I wanna make sure that my little glass piece is in there correctly, because I'll tell you, this dot really holds. And now I'm gonna grab my shorter ribbon, and I'm just going to cut it at a point. And I like using a nice thick ribbon. I know people use a lot of thin ribbons making cards, but I prefer using thicker ribbons simply because it gives it a little, it makes it more luxurious. And I'm just gonna just thread this through, kind of checking how it looks and how the little sort of, gapping is, or the gathering. Okay, and we're gonna attach it to our card first. And you want the one on the top here, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna attach it right where that one is. So make sure you've got enough ribbon top and bottom. And now I'm just gonna put another super sticky dot right on top of that one. And I'm gonna peel that off. And then I'm gonna center that and really push down on that and make that stick. This is actually not what holds it on, but at least it gets it into place for you. Okay. And now I'm gonna use two more fantastic super sticky dots. And I'm gonna use one up here and one down here. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that that's centered. And you work from the front. If you work from the back, okay. You want to pull that nice and tight. And I'm just going to go and trim off. So now you have your little piece made with the ribbon, and you've got your two little cards that are gonna go onto your, onto the front of your card. The Craft Fantastic Luxe line is great because this is almost an A7, meaning that it's 5 by 7. It's nice and big. This is not a small card. This is a large card. And so you've got plenty of room to embellish and make beautiful, but it's cut slightly smaller than the envelope. So it gives it room so you can slide your embellished card onto the envelope. So you really burnish that down and you try to match the corners up as much as possible. They're not gonna be perfect, but they're close enough. And now I'm gonna lay everything out. And I kind of want this side, and this side to match. So I'm gonna use my fabulous tape runner. And this is a little harder. I might hold it in my hand because I've got so much dimension on the front of it. And this is why I like these smaller tape runners, because they're so much easier to hold in your hand. Now I could also use a super sticky dot here where the ribbon is, and you always want to try to really make that ribbon glue down, but I think we're fine on this one. All right, and I'm just sort of putting that where I want that. Now you could go like this. I mean, you can arrange it in a lot of different ways, but I like the geometry of this piece where you can see a little bit here, sort of top and bottom, so you can see the ribbon. And then this little piece is gonna tuck in here, right? Just like this. So I think I'm actually going to glue down. No, I think I'll do this one first. Now I'm gonna do it so it's at an angle. So I'm gonna actually use my super sticky dots for the bottom. And I'm gonna use a couple of my puffy dots for the top. And see what that does is it creates, again, it just creates a little more interest. And I don't want this to match up here. You always want, you know, things to sort of be off a little bit. But I think if I go just like that, I think it will have the effect that I want. So I'm gonna peel. And I'm gonna place this down just like this. And it's tucked under, just a little bit under that ribbon. And I'm gonna glue that down. Okay, so now I'm just gonna place this, and I want about the same distance here and here. And again, you know, you can do this however you want. You could do this lower, you could do it under the ribbon. I mean, there are a lot of, like, how cute is that? If you know, I mean, you can just play with it and do different things, but I think I'm gonna stick with having the double layer there. And you always, when you're doing your puffy dots, and you guys know about puffy dots, you always hit the spots first that where you absolutely have to have them, and corners would be the spot. And now you can determine, okay, do I want to put one here or maybe along the edge here? And I've got lots of puffy dots, so I'm gonna do something like this. I could probably get away with less, but this just makes a card that has more structural integrity. Okay, and that's your first little card. We're gonna do our little signature gem at the very end. So that is card number 1. Okay, so the next card we're gonna make, this is card number 2, and I love this little vintage image, and I love combining different patterns, and I love the checkers with the dots, and again, I think it's unusual, and it's fun, and I think it's very Valentine. So we've got our little pile of images that we're gonna use, and I'm going to start to cut them out. And I just come around here, and again, I'm not perfect. What I'm striving for is fun, and I want these cards to look like they're handmade. And this edge is a little rough, so I would cut in just a little bit. And again, you know, it doesn't have to be perfection here. And oftentimes I don't, you know, I go around a couple of times to do the fussy cutting. And now I'm gonna go back into it in the other direction. And there's my heart. And last but not least, I'm gonna trim. All right. So now I've got all my decorative images cut out, and now I'm gonna attach them to the cardstock, and I need 2 pieces of red and 1 piece of black. So the heart's gonna be on the black, And this guy is gonna be on the red, and I can cut here, and then this one right here. So I'm gonna glue them down first, because that tells me where to cut. There we go. And you're just gonna center this roughly side to side, and I'll be trimming some of this off. And it's not even on here straight, you don't have to worry about that. And you want to get it close to the edge, but not too close. And then we have our heart. Okay. All right, and again, I'm going to rough cut and set this aside because maybe I'll use it later. And I'm just doing about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. Again, it's not perfection. It's imperfection, perfectly combined. I'm gonna trim this, and then I'll come back into it and trim that little divot in that heart. There we go. So we have our little heart cut out, and now I'm gonna rough cut again this piece, and I bet I can use that red later for something. Okay, that's done. And last but not least is our larger piece. Okay. So now I've got my components. And now I'm going to take my card, and you want the bump side up. And I'm gonna match up those edges as much as I can and really hold them in place, and then take my bone folder and just burnish everything down as hard as I can. And there, I've got my beautiful card. It's nice, very nice size here. So, okay. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to glue down our first piece. And I wanna talk to you a little bit about placement. If you make this even, it's gonna have the optical illusion that there's less space down here. So I'm gonna weight the bottom. That's W-E-I-G-H-T. I'm just gonna give it a little bit more on the bottom than on the top. And that's something that framers do. If you go to a quality framer, they'll give a little, like 1/4 of an inch or something more on the bottom. Okay, and I also, notice how I bring this at an angle. I don't come right at it flat, because I want to situate it first, and then I just glue that down. And then this piece, the second piece, is going right in the center. Just like that. Okay, I'm just gonna clean up the edge a little bit, and then just glue that down, sort of centered, side to side, just like that. And now I'm gonna glue down my little heart, or my big heart in this case. And I'm gonna use the puffy dots because the puffy dots give it dimension. And remember, you always place where you know you need one, and I know I need one right at that point, and I know I need one sort of at the top of the heart. And then you kind of fill in between. Put one here, and probably one right here. And then one here, and because I've got a lot of space here in the center, I'm gonna put one right in the center. Okay. All right, now we're just gonna come and take this and place it side to side, just like that. And there you go. There's card number 2. Okay, all right. Now the next one we're gonna do is this one, and this could be my favorite one in the kit. I kind of love this one. This is our number 3, and I love the oval shape, and you know, I just kind of love everything about it. So I'm gonna set, these are our image sheets, and our choices, and I'm gonna set those to the side, and I'm going to cut out everything. So I'm doing a rough cut. A lot of times when I'm fussy cutting, we really haven't had a lot of fussy cuts on this, in this particular project. What I do is I go around 2 or 3 times to actually really get the cut. So I've got this bit right here that's going on. So I'm just gonna go in here and I'm gonna cut right into that little V there. And I'm gonna cut a little, I'm actually cutting a little bit out, and then I'm gonna come back in and take out the rest of that white paper. And see, I've got my perfect little heart. And now, I'm gonna cut out this darling little guy. Just like that. And now we're gonna do the second piece. All right. So let's go ahead, and I'm gonna look for on this and see, I've got this piece here. This is from, I think, card number 2 probably. And I've got enough here so I can use this piece of red. I'm gonna take a full-size piece of the red. And then on this one, I'm gonna look at the black scraps, and I think I can get my heart out of here, just like that. Okay. So now I'm going to just glue this all down, and I'm just going around and around in a circle. And there's that. And I'm just gonna put that down on the red. Okay. Hard going around corners on this tape stuff. And as I said, if you go over the edge a little bit, you can trim it off, but that gets your scissors all gunky, or just fold it under. I prefer just folding it under, so I've got just a little bit of tape there. And there we go, just like that. And then okay, so now I'm gonna trim the edges off about 1/8 of an inch away. I love this heart imagery. These are, I think this is black and white clip art, like it's vintage clip art, and these are lockets, heart lockets. And you might wanna nip it here and there. There we go. That. Okay, there's that. So now I have my pieces cut out, and you can see this one's slightly different than this card. I chose this time to go a little closer in on my trimming. And it just creates a slightly different effect. It doesn't really matter how much you leave, you know, on the edge. So now we're gonna make our little embellishment here, and we're gonna work on a nice hard surface, and we're going to work on our scrap paper. And I think on this one, I think I'm gonna do the little image of the little girl, or the little Harlequin. I think that's cute. Yeah, I think that'll be nice. And you want to use your glaze and glue. Okay. So the trick here is when you're working with a square in the glass, you want to squirt a blob in all 4 corners. and then one in the center, because this stuff travels in a circular pattern, and sometimes you won't get all you won't get glaze and glue all the way to the corners. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing down, and I actually didn't even trim it off of this little sheet here. You wanna make sure you leave some white salvage around, because you don't wanna get glue on your work surface. It just makes it harder. And of course, I am working on scrap paper. Here we go. Okay, and you can trim it completely wet or completely dry. I would actually trim it completely dry at home, but for the instructions, I'll trim it when it's wet. Okay. So we have our little embellishment here. I've got a little bit on the little fantastic glaze and glue on the top of it. I'm gonna let it dry completely and scrape it off with an X-Acto. Okay, so now we're gonna make our card, and I'm gonna take one of my card blanks with the fabulous, all kinds of room, and I'm gonna have the bump up. I'm gonna match up the corners, and then I'm just gonna burnish back and forth until I really get this card nice and flat. And now I'm ready to build my card. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna glue down this piece. And I want it, I'm looking here, and I wanted a little bit more space here than here. So I'm weighting it, right? W-E-I-G-H-T. And I'm gonna glue this down. Okay. And it's pretty centered, but there's a little bit more space on the bottom. I typically don't measure. I mean, some people want to measure, that's fine. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same thing we did for a card earlier, is I want this at an angle. So I want it to attach here, but I also want it to be up here. And the same thing with the heart. So it just makes a more interesting and dynamic piece. So I'm gonna do a little super sticky dot down on the bottom. And I'm going to do 2 puffy dots on the top, kind of right here, just like that. And so what that's doing is, and it also gives a place for the ribbon, which is nice. Is it raining?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. Okay. So I'm just gonna center it top and bottom, side to side. Just like that. And I'm gonna do the same thing for my little heart, right? Because again, I want, a little dimension here. So I'll do 2 and 1. Okay, and I'm just gonna put that on. Just like that. Okay, and now I'm gonna put my little bow right here. Oh, first I'm gonna attach my little piece of glass, my little glass embellishment. That's gonna go right at the top here. And I'm gonna use another fantastic super sticky dot. Just like that. And as I said, I've got a little bit of glaze and glue on this, and I'm just gonna scrape that off later. So I'm gonna take my remaining red ribbon, and everybody ties a bow differently. But what you wanna do is you wanna create a little bow, and some people are really good bow tiers, and some people aren't. I think I'm right in the middle, but. And what I like to do is sort of pull it out and sort of create the bow, sort of tighten it up. So I'm going back and forth with this until I get something that I like the way it looks. I love this ribbon. This ribbon that we use in the kits is so great. It has such great body on it. And okay, I think this is gonna be cute now. Yeah, and that's gonna go right there. I like to trim before I put it on the card. And I like to trim it a little bit longer than you'd think you need it, just because I think it gives a sort of luxurious look. And here I'm going to use a half of a fantastic sticky dot. And notice how I cut this, but I leave it on the paper, because then you can use the other half for something else. And this will really hold the ribbon on. If you try to use the paper adhesive, the ribbon's not going to stay on, and you may have experienced that. And I have gotten received handmade cards that are not, that have fallen apart in the mail, and you don't want that to happen. Okay, and then I'm just going to put that right here, sort of right at the junction of the heart and the little Harlequin. There we go. And that is card number 3. Okay, so the next card we're gonna make is card number 4. And this one's really fun, and it has the cute little puffy dots on the bottom, and the puffy hearts, I should say. And we're gonna start with a piece of red and a piece of black, a big piece of black. So we've got these 2 cards here. And then we've got our 2 images. And you guys know what we're doing here. We're just trimming, oops, and I want to use my non-gluey scissors. And I'm just going to trim all the way around. There we go, that's very cute. And then, okay. All right. So now I'm going to glue this down onto the black, just like this. And it's not straight at all. And then I like to do things and not use up all the red, because, you know, you might be able to use it in another project, or you might be able to use it in the last card that we're going to make. It's always good to have a little left over. All right. So now I'm just going to trim, trim, trim. Okay. All righty. So now we're going to take another card blank and have the bump up. Okay. Now on this one, you want more space on the top, because you see how the little guy kind of goes over, and that's a design element. And then you're going to have your hearts on the bottom here. So I'm sort of eyeballing things, and so I can see that I want about a space and a half compared to this, right? So you could measure this if you felt like it and make little pencil marks. I don't do that, but some people do, and that's fine. The key is to enjoy yourself and make something nice. And I'm just gonna glue that down right about there. There we go. And we're gonna use the puffy dots to glue this down. And again, you put the dot where you know you need it. That's where you start. And then you work in from there. So I think I'm gonna put one here, and I'm gonna put one here, and I'll put one here, and one here. There we go. All right, and now I'm gonna glue this down because I need to have space for my hearts that run across the bottom. There we go, just like that. And I'm gonna grab my hearts and I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm gonna cut out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And I'm gonna trim, I'm just gonna trim this up. There's sort of a little bit, just taking a little bit off this edge here, just rounding it out. Because there's a little bit of a squareness. Okay. And we're just gonna run that across the bottom. And you wanna use the Fantastic Super Sticky Dots because that is what is gonna hold everything in place. So we're gonna put one on the center one on the end, and one on the other end. Okay, and I'm gonna take the liner off of the center. And this is tricky, this is hard. This is the hardest part. And I'm just gonna place that sort of centered on everything. There we go, just like that. And now, I could glue all the hearts down, but I like things to have a loose quality to it. Like it's not like this rigid glued down piece, you know. You don't want to, there's something about attaching, but there's also something about over attaching and how it affects the card. And there we go. That is card number 4. Okay, last but not least, we're doing card number 5, and I love this card. I just, you know, it looks like a medallion, and it's fun. It's just a fun card to do. So we're gonna start with this, and we are going to, we've got our choice here. This is our, for our glass piece, and we'll set this aside. And I'm going to trim out. Just trim all the way around. Just like that. And just like that. Okay. And then, all right. That's gonna go here, and I think we'll just, here we go. All right, so I'm gonna glue this down here. Okay, and just push that back. Looks pretty good to me. Okay. So now I'm going to make my little piece of glass. And this is with our medium glass size. That's one of our most popular sizes. And I've got my medium glass here. And on this one, I think I'm gonna do the Be Mine. On this one, I've got the heart. But look at, this is wild. Look at how much bigger this heart looks because of the glass. It's pretty crazy. All right, so I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna squirt a nice blob in the center. And I'm gonna push down on it. You wanna really get rid of the air bubbles. And as I said, make this and let it dry. Clean it up, let it dry, and then trim it. You'll get a much better result. But for the sake of instruction, I'm gonna cut it when it's wet. Trim, 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 just like that. Oh, and I got a little bit of, again, you know, I'm getting a little glue on things and I'm pushing on the back. I've got a couple of air bubbles I'm getting rid of. And that happened because I cut it when it was wet. You're not gonna have that problem if you let it dry. Yeah. All right. So there's the Be Mine, and that's gonna go right here, right? And I'm gonna clean off the front of this a little bit with an X-Acto. I've got a little bit on here. And don't try to wipe this off. Let it dry and then scrape it off if you get a little bit of the adhesive on there. And I'm gonna use a super sticky dot. And I'm just gonna put it right on the number 5. And I'm gonna center it on. Just like that. And see how cute? That's gonna go right there. That's super cute, I love that. Here we go. Very cute. Okay, so I'm gonna take my card and with the bump side up, I'm gonna take this and burnish, just like that. And now we're gonna make our little tail here. And, well, actually, the first thing we're gonna do is glue this down. So let's do that first. And you can see, I'm gonna turn it a little bit because I want it at sort of some of these at an angle, the little checkers. So I'm just gonna glue this down. And again, if you get a little bit over the edge, just like that. And I'm just going to glue this down, just like that. And actually, I'm gonna put puffy dots on this because I wanna raise this up. And I'm putting one in the center because it needs that support because remember, it's got the piece of glass on the front. So you're kind of using more puffy dots probably than you would normally use, but you've got your piece of glass. Okay, so we're gonna be gluing this down just like this. That's so cute. All right, so I'm gonna take my, my striped ribbon and I'm gonna fold it in half at an angle. Let's see, just like this. And you can fold it this way so you have more space in between. I'm gonna fold it just like this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a fantastic sticky dot to keep the ribbon in place. So I'm holding where the fold is, right? It's a little tricky and you wanna peel the liner off. There we go. Okay. And I'm just gonna fold that over so it's at an angle, just like that, right? And I'm gonna actually trim this after I glue it down. So I'm gonna use another dot and I'm going to put it right over the 5. And I'm gonna peel that off. And then I'm going to push it down. Just like that. And now I'm gonna glue this down with the puffy dots, right? And I haven't trimmed it yet. I'm gonna wait until I've got everything kind of put together. that I'll be putting on here. And I'm just centering this on the back piece, just like that. That is super cute. And now I've got to figure out where I'm going to put these little cards. And it doesn't matter where you put them. So I'm going to cut them apart, and then I'm going to trim that little tab that was holding them together a little bit, just to make it a nicer piece, that it's more finished. It's just sort of nipping that edge off. And I'm going to trim it now, probably before I put the hearts down. And I could trim it, in this case, I trimmed it in the same direction. In this case, I'm going to trim it there, just like that. It just, you know, you can do this however you want. And then I think I'm going to put one little heart. Yeah, I like the way it is here. I'm going to put this here and put this here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use another sticky dot. I want the ribbon to be free, but I also want to hold it down a little bit. So I'm going to use a couple of dots to hold it down, but not hold it down completely. Just like that. So there's still a little play in this ribbon. There we go. And then I'm going to use the dots on the back of the little hearts. Okay. And then I'm just going to glue this one down right here, just like that. And like that. And how cute is that? So this is card number 5. Okay. All right, now we're going to make our little signature gems, and this is what tells everyone, you know, that it's made with love and it's handmade, and you've got your choice of red and black. And I'm going to go through here and sort of figure out what I want. On this one, I think because I've got the red center, I'm going to do something in black. And I like the idea of using a little black heart with this one. So I think we're going to keep that one. And then on this one, I think I want to do red, and I think I want to put it sort of on the bottom. And this lovely little one, let's see, what color do I want to use here? That's a toss-up. That's a hard one. I think I'll go with a black handmade. And then on this one, I think I'm going to go with a red handmade. And last but not least, card number 1 in our, I think on this one, I think I'll go with a red handmade. All right. All righty. So red handmade on this one. Okay. Oh. And you guys know how to make these at this point. Okay. All right, so we've got this one made up, And I think I'm gonna put this one, I could do it down here. That would be super cute. Or I could do it, I'm gonna trim a little bit more of this paper off here. Or I could put it right here. Kind of like it up there. So I think I'm gonna put it right here. So the way you're gonna do that is you're gonna take a super sticky dot, and what you wanna do is, just the way I cut this, you wanna cut your pieces so they stay on the sheet. This is so you can use them later, so you don't have a lot of little dots sticking around. And just gonna take it like this. So you're using 1/4 of a little dot. And I think I'm just gonna put this right. Actually, I think I'm gonna put it down here. Like a little signature. Okay, so you've got something like this. So now we have all these great cards with our little signature dots. And I think they all turned out really nice, and they look handmade. They don't look like something you go into Walgreens and buy, or actually I wouldn't see these at any card shop. You might see something like this like at a super high-end card shop. But how cute are these? So this is our Valentine card kit, and you can purchase this at craftfantastic.com. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to watch our video, and hopefully you made some nice cards. Happy Valentine's Day.